But you're not going to hear Candace Owens talking about, oh my God, they're canceling another person. You're not going to hear Ben Shapiro, well, technically, this violates freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. This stupid idiot. Like, you're not going to hear nothing about this. And last time I checked, and we can read it, that also falls under the First Amendment, which the Republicans, for some reason, supposed to be the champion of freedom of speech and not being canceled and not losing your job because you want to express how you feel about the government. So when it comes to freedom of speech, that can be translated in many different ways. And me, myself, which I want to kind of share with you guys, we're not going to get into the video just yet. I'm an artist, and I actually kind of dove into doing political cartoons before doing my YouTube channel, because, art and politics, it's a pretty good mix. And that kind of ties into the story that we're going to talk about, is how Jeff Bezos is once again showing how individuals like himself do not operate on standards, on integrity whatsoever, and they're always looking out for their own best interest. So let me go ahead and show you guys. So this is a cartoon I actually did like maybe 4 years ago, something like that. And this was a whole conversation of Republicans literally trying to demonize and marginalize gay people. And it was a story, I forget his name, but he was actually one of the big mouths out there talking about trans people, gay people are this and this, and they're after your kids, and they're going to take your jobs and your school. And he literally got caught sending nude pictures to underage boys. And he was on the front stage of the Republican Party. So I drew this picture right here. It's like, as you can read it, tell me if you think the illustration is pretty good. But this is something that I drew here, and let me see. And I found a few that I really love, and I actually saved on my iPad here. Poverty is man-made. It is not natural. Once again, illustration, the power of illustration can speak louder than words. You know what I'm saying? Like this right here. Beautiful, well, not a beautiful picture, but a beautiful explanation of how poverty is man-made. Then we got one more right here. What do you want to be when you grow up? Alive. Plain and simple. Can we get to base one? Can we just be alive so we can see what we can grow up to be? Once again, illustrations on its own can be a beautiful thing. And Frederick Douglass, he said, to suppress free speech is a double wrong. It violates the rights of the hearer as well as those of the speaker. Once again, I understand freedom of speech is important. It gets a little deeper than just being able to say what you want. I already did a video talking about Mark Zuckerberg flip-flopping. I believe people should be able to say what they want, but it needs to be some sort of regulation, guardrails to people who want to abuse those rights. And when it comes to abusing those rights, it can actually cause more harm than good, than just ignoring it. And once again, if you want to get deeper into that, watch that video. But we're going to talk about the opposite of this coin. And this, when it comes to money, these institutions don't care. They will flip on you on a dime. And Jeff Bezos, I believe, is the Washington Post. He owns the Washington Post. The same guy that went to Mar-a-Lago with Trump, had a meeting, and is now giving $1 million to his inauguration event. Kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, just a little bit, but let's take a listen to this story, and you tell me, after I heard this, I had two scenarios run through my mind. If this was a story, based off this story, CNN and MSNBC and media platforms like that, they're going to talk about this story. You know, they're probably going to have some pretty good discussions, okay? And you know, wag their finger at Republicans and say, hey, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this, blah, blah, blah. Everything is good. But let this be a Republican under a publication like the Washington Post quitting their job because they could not publish what they want to, and they got, you know, censored or canceled. I guarantee you that person will be on Fox News. They will be on every single Republican media platform telling their story, demonizing Democrats, and guarantee you that person will have their own podcast and be a frequent guest on Fox News. Simple. Fox News will milk the hell out of a story like this. Let's take a listen.
And with that said, the other bit of big but quick news in the States is that Trump's 2024 victory has officially been certified. And the reason it's quick news is because no one stormed the Capitol. Because, you know, other than 4 years. Now, with all that said, moving on to something completely unrelated, the Washington Post just censored a Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist over a Trump cartoon. That is what the cartoonist herself, Ann Telnase.
Let's take a. I wish I could zoom in, but that is an amazing picture, and I think he's gonna blow it up. But I can see why, because that's supposed to be. Oh shoot, that's supposed to be Jeff Bezos right there bending the knee. And in my opinion, he should be on both knees. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do it right, you get on both knees, giving money to Trump. But let's continue.
Is claiming after the paper refused to publish a cartoon that she made mocking its owner, Jeff Bezos. And for context, the inspiration behind this drawing was the veritable parade of tech and media tycoons in and out of Mar-a-Lago since the election to meet with Donald Trump. With those, including Bezos, who announced that Amazon would donate $1 million to Trump's inauguration fund and make another $1 million in-kind contribution. And so in the cartoon, which never made it past the rough sketch, you see Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and OpenAI Sam Altman kneeling before a statue of Trump and offering him sacks of cash, with Mickey Mouse also lying face down in either submission or adoration on the ground, with that presumably referring to Disney's decision to settle Trump's defamation suit against ABC last month for $16 million. And then lastly, of the billionaire Los Angeles Times owner Patrick Soon-Shiong there holding a tube of lipstick, with that seemingly referring to his decision to block the Times from endorsing Kamala Harris for president. Now with this, according to Telnase, she submitted this sketch before Christmas, but her editor refused to take it, so she threatened to resign, but he didn't budge, and so now she's quit her job. With her announcing in a Substack post over the weekend, "I've worked for the Washington Post since 2008 as an editorial cartoonist. I have had editorial feedback and productive conversations and some differences about cartoons I have submitted for publication, but in all that time, I've never had a cartoon killed because of who or what I chose to aim my pen at. Until now." With her then adding, "I doubt my decision will cause much of a stir and that it will be dismissed because I'm just a cartoonist, but I will not stop holding truth to power through my cartooning because, as they say, democracy dies in darkness."
And that's weird that that's the Washington Post's slogan, which is kind of weird. But once again, you're not going to hear, because this is, I don't want to say she's a Democrat or a progressive, but her cartoon is not depicting Trump in a positive light and is putting these CEOs, these million and billionaires in a bad light. So I'm not going to say she's a Democrat, but I would just assume. But you're not going to hear Candace Owens talking about, oh my God, they're canceling another person. You're not going to hear Ben Shapiro, well, technically, you know, this violates freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. You know, this stupid idiot. Like, you're not going to hear nothing about this. And last time I checked, and we can read it, that also falls under the First Amendment, which the Republicans, for some reason, is supposed to be the champion of freedom of speech and not being canceled and not losing your job because you want to express how you feel about the government. Let's take a listen, or let's read it. Of course, is broken down into some categories here: the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, the freedom to assemble, freedom to petition, and most important for this story, freedom of the press. The media can report news and express opinions without government control. Once again, I'm not saying Jeff Bezos is the government, but for some reason, okay, let's connect the dots here. Okay, I'm not into conspiracies, but they're laying this down for me. Jeff Bezos, all of a sudden, he owns a news organization, a little weird, and he's paying the president as of now, Donald Trump, what, $2 million for his inauguration, having these private meetings. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying it smells a little fishy. I don't know if it walked like a duck, talk like a duck, act like a duck.
With this, you also had the Association of American Editorial Cartoonists, of which Telnez is a member and a past president, agreeing with her and writing. The AAEC condemns the Post and their ethical weakness. Editorial cartooning is the tip of the spear in opinion, and the Post's cowering further soils their once stellar reputation for standing up and speaking truth to power. We weep for the loss of this once great newspaper. But then on the other side of this, you had the Post editorial page editor David Shipley defending his decision not to publish the cartoon, telling NPR, "Not every editorial judgment is a reflection of a malign force. My decision was guided by the fact that we had just published a column on the same topic as the cartoon and had already scheduled another column, this one a satire, for publication. The only bias was against repetition." Now also with this, you do have some noting this wasn't the first time one of Telnez's cartoons had been shelved, with people pointing to in 2015, the Post initially publishing and then retracting a sketch depicting Ted Cruz's young daughters as monkeys, with the Post explaining at the time that its editorial policy was to leave children out of it.
And that right there was a great example of, okay, you probably went too far. I understand you don't want to involve people's kids into a cartoon like that. Once again, that's probably stepping over the line. But the cartoon, first off, I say some BS. Okay, hey, make it happen. Damn it, it was a good illustration. I myself love illustrations like that because once again, it speaks louder than, a whole entire article. Make it work. But of course, either he make it work or he loses his work.
And also, whether its decision to snub Telnez was justified or not, this is far from the only drama that the Washington Post has been involved in recently, with easily one of the most covered and talked about examples being when Jeff Bezos decided to block the paper from endorsing Harris just days before the election, with Bezos expressing regret over the timing but defending the decision in principle. Though notably, many of their readers did not agree, with 300,000 people canceling their digital subscriptions by Election Day, according to NPR, which reportedly amounted to some 12% of all digital subscriptions, and even had some employees leaving their posts, including 3 editorial board staffers and a contributing writer. And then, in December, a Post editor blocked an article about the departure of managing editor Matea Gold, who was a contender for the rank of executive editor before she quit, with a saying there, acting executive editor Matt Murray accepting responsibility for the decision and reportedly telling editors the Post should not cover itself. And this also coming after more than a year of embarrassing stories from the Post's own reporters about its publisher and chief executive, Will Lewis, with sources reportedly alleging that he tried but failed to pressure the Post not to report on accusations that he helped cover up the British phone hacking scandal at Rupert Murdoch's tabloids over a decade ago. With that, he has repeatedly denied those claims, but the tension between himself and the Post rank and file seems only to have grown sharper. But then, taking a quick break.
So once again, I'm not the sharpest knife in the kitchen. I am just another dude with another opinion, but I don't think, okay, and call me crazy, rich millionaires like Jeff Bezos, which I think at some point was second richest person in the world, it's a little weird that they have their own news media outlet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be super in-depth in politics to understand how that could be a little weird. The conflicts of interest is like just in your face. The elephant is in the room when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not complicated. But, like, I don't want to hear other Republicans crying about the First Amendment and people getting canceled or censored, and we have stories like this going on. If you really are a champion of the First Amendment and the freedom of speech, you would care about everybody's freedom and not just your own or just your party's when it suits your argument better. And I'm going to end it with this quote here. This is from the great late Malcolm X. And we all heard this quote. He said, "If you're not careful, the newspaper will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and love the people who are doing the oppressing." Once again, suppressing stories or cartoons like that is only shedding light on the dark behind the scenes events which I don't want to say people are not trivial to, because I mean, they're flaunting it in your face now. Like they're saying, hey guys, we as billionaires and having so much leverage in this social environment, we're giving money to a candidate who is now running the government. That's a little shady to me. So now when Trump doesn't want negative attention when it comes to these news organizations, Zuckerberg on Facebook is not going to censor misinformation, and the Washington Post is not going to depict Trump as a bad guy when he does dumb BS. And trust me, he's going to do a lot. So you tell me, do Americans actually value the First Amendment, freedom of speech, or is it just when it's convenient for them? Let me know in the comments. But of course, guys, if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, let me know in the comments down below, or hit that Discord button so me and you can have that one-on-one talk. And like always, let's have that conversation.